Hello everyone, in Autonomous Learning Environments and Self-Directed Learning. This is Module 6, a systematic approach to instructional design. After completion of the module's readings and activities, you will be able to identify different instructional models, evaluate your lesson objectives and transform them into performance-based objectives, and elaborate a needs analysis questionnaire to be applied in your context. Before we start, let's take a look at John Holt's quote on learning. Learning is not the product of teaching, learning is the product of the activity of learners. Now, go and write your reflections on your journal. So before you start reading and before you start working on the module, let's ask some questions. Do you plan lessons? Why? Do you ask your students about what they want to learn? How do you involve students in the process of planning? How do you know what you teach is what your students need? Think about these questions before you start the readings. It would be a good idea to write your impressions at this point, and then, once you have read and once you have worked on the module materials, go back to the questions and see if your thinking has changed in this regard. So, what is instructional design? According to Richard Collada, the process by which instruction is improved through the analysis of learning needs and systematic development of learning materials. Instructional designers often use technology and multimedia as tools to enhance instruction. This is an innovative definition of instructional design because, as you can see, it involves the use of technology and multimedia. So why thinking about instructional design? Currently, as we mentioned in one of our sessions, pedagogy needs to be thought before technology. Unfortunately, institutions are making wrong decisions about implementations of technology because they forget about the pedagogy behind it. They're just worried about being on the latest trends in the use of technology, and they forget to analyze whether X or Y technology actually is necessary for their learners or can be applied by their teachers. Also, because there is a variety of resources nowadays, so why choosing one or the other? If I have my students write on a blog, is it going to make a difference in their learning, or can I just ask them to write on paper and pen? A mixture of resources calls for a mixed methodology as well. We have considered already blended learning and how blending is not only about computers and traditional instruction, but also different possibilities. So the more resources we have, the more difficulties we have to make instructional decisions. Instruction needs to be developed to meet the needs of students. So once again, we go back to the questions I asked you at the beginning. Do you ask your students what they need to learn, or you just impose a curriculum on them? Does the school or the institute where you work impose a curriculum on you? Think about this when you read the materials. In our module, we are going to look at different models. You are going to take a look at the ADDIE model, which stands for Analysis, Design, Development, Implementation, and Evaluation. You're also going to look at the ARCS, Attention, Relevance, Competence, and Satisfaction model. This model is a problem-solving approach. You're also going to read about Shanks, goals-based scenarios. The main principles in Shanks is the case-based learning, learning by doing. Yeah, so probably you are doing that in your institutions currently. Another model you're going to take a look at is the Gagne's model. It has 9 steps. Gaining attention, tell the learners the learning objective, stimulating recall or prior learning, presenting the stimulus, providing learning guidance, eliciting performance, providing feedback, assessing performance, enhancing retention, and transfer to other contexts. That is the 9-step model that Gagne's present. And last but not least, you're going to look at the TPAC model, which is a technological, pedagogical, content knowledge. It attempts to identify the nature of knowledge required by teachers for technology integration in their teaching, while addressing the complex, multifaceted, and situated nature of teacher knowledge. So it's important to take a look at these models with a critical eye about your context For that reason, in the activities for this module, I invite you to not only note the main principles about it when you read, but also to notice the possible affordances in your particular context. Thinking about designing instruction, how can you start? Well, needs analysis is a great place to start. So, in this module, you're going to explore what a needs analysis is by using Coningsworth and long texts, and how you do one. Okay, you're going to take a look at how to do one. Also, you're going to look at performance-based objectives. How important are objectives in planning for instruction? We would say one of the most important things in a lesson are the objectives, because if your students achieve the objectives, then you can place them, you can measure their learning, you can assess them. But if you don't have objectives, how do you know where to go? It's like in a ship not having a navigation chart. And at this point, how do you create objectives for your lessons? What criterion do you consider for creating your objectives? In this regard, I invite you to watch a video called the Instructional Objectives ABCD. So if you please right now could scan the QR code on the slide with your phone and watch the video with your phone before moving on. Okay, so Module 6 is about, you have to read a lot. It's about instructional design. So as there are so many models, you're going to have to read a lot. So I encourage you to use your active reading strategies. And if you want, you can split information and then get together and share. There are 3 activities. I'm making 2 of them mandatory. The first activity is reading about the instructional design models and filling in a chart. If you don't want to fill in a chart, that's up to you, but I strongly suggest you to do so you can compare the models and see which ones are more suitable for your particular context. Also, activity 2 invites you to create a needs analysis. This is a pair exercise, and I suggest you to do it by Monday. And activity 3 is writing performance-based objectives. I also suggest you trying to get it done by Monday, so there can be discussion during Tuesday and Wednesday. Alright, this is all about Module 6. Don't forget to contact me if you have any question, and see you next time.